What up? God damn it. Sorry. Timed that wrong. Goddamn helicopter. But I am back for another video. I am here. We finally have finished the Tarantino movies, and that was a fun one. And these are movies that, in my opinion, Tarantino is one of the few directors where I think honestly all his stuff is good. Even if yeah, they're in a different order, but I actually think all of them are good in their own way. Like, I'll just spoil one. Death Proof is the last one, like its last place, but I still say it's a solid movie. Like, I think rarely has a director directed stuff that's good. The way he does characters, the way he does I think set piece is another thing that Tarantino I think really needs to be said is his set piece, especially and specifically Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I'd say like in all his films, honestly, you know, like especially like the ones that have like a theme, like Django, Hateful Eight, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Inglorious Bastards. I think like all of those, like the set design for all those movies is great. Like he makes you feel immersed in that time period, whatever time period that movie's set in. But then obviously the dialogue, just the way he does dialogue is so good. It's the finally like, because I'll admit I watch these movies, but I don't watch them like it's been a while since I watched them like back to back to back, and to watch them all like that is so great. It's almost like good because you see his evolution, going from Reservoir Dogs to where he is now with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just it's so good. And I like all these movies, so it's not like Death Proof is the last one, his last place. It doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's just compared to his other movies, it just doesn't compare. But besides that, tomorrow I will be reviewing the first Bill and Ted, and I'm gonna do those weekly. But the Ghostbusters I will do back to back. So I'll do Ghostbusters, the first one, on Thursday. So that's my plan so far. Pretty much this week is I'll do tomorrow will be Bill and Ted, but I might, if I'm in the mood, I'll squeeze in a review of more of a rant on the new Texas Chainsaw movie. So I'll probably try to squeeze that in. Maybe like if that does happen, that one will be like during the day probably. We'll see. I gotta see if I can. So, and then Thursday will be the first Ghostbusters, and then Friday will be Ghostbusters 2. So that's my plan this week. But other than that, we're going to kick off this ranking. Anyway. So, my number 9, because he's done 9 films, is Hateful Eight. Not Hateful Eight, is Death Proof, which came out in 2007. Really good movie. I mean, it's just almost process of elimination. Like, I'm sorry, Death Proof just doesn't stack up against like any of his other movies. It's not a bad movie per se, and I like how simple it is. And to be fair, it's supposed to be part of like a two-part, not a two-parter, but it's like this is technically it was on a released alongside um, um, the Robert Rodriguez one. I can't Grindhouse. So but on its own, it's a fine movie. Kurt Russell was great. Some of the kills were pretty good, but then it just kind of devolves in the end a little bit, and just I don't think there's as much good character moments compared to his other films. That's my only thing. But it's still a solid film, and it's definitely one. Uh, I'll admit I won't watch this as much, but it's not a bad one. I love Kurt Russell, and when he plays like a character, and I think he does that really pretty well as Stuntman Mike, if that's what the killer's name was. And Rose McGowan's death was pretty brutal. So, but other than that, it's not a bad movie. It's just compared to his other movies, it just doesn't compare. But I still recommend it though. If I were to give it out of 10, I think I gave it a 7.5. But definitely recommend. So number 8 is Number 8 is Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown's a good one, but just it's kind of the same thing compared to his other films. But I will say this about Jackie Brown: very streamlined. Like you have other characters, you have like multiple points of view. Pam Grier was great. Um, Samuel Jackson as Odell was pretty good. I think he played that role very well. It's just you got to compare it to his other movies. It just isn't there, but it's pretty solid, and I actually think it's a very underrated one. So um, I heavily recommend it if you, especially if you like movies that like are homage to the '70s, and I think this one does it very well. So, but um, it's just like I said, compared to his other movies, it's just not up there, but it's still a solid one. So that's my number 8. My number 7 is The Hateful Eight, and this one I really do like, but I'll admit Daisy, the character, kind of brings it down. I think to me, her character, especially the more I think about it, is just she's just unlikable to be unlikable, and I think she almost bogs the movie down. I will admit, like, not it's not the performance. Jennifer Jason Leigh did great. Like in terms, if I'm going to go purely on performance, she was good. She did her role. She's supposed to be unlikable, but it got a bit old. It got jarring, but it's still a solid film. I think this it's another one where the set piece is great, like that 1877 post Civil War aesthetic was great. Samuel L. Jackson, another great. Samuel L. Jackson is going to be a common thread in a lot of these movies, aside from like Kill Bill. Like he's played like at least 3 characters for Tarantino that are like memorable. You know, obviously Jules from Pulp Fiction, Odell, and then Steven and Django. Actually, no, 4, because I'm fucking forgot about Marquise in this movie. But yeah, he did the role very well. Had a really good cast. Channing Tatum, in my opinion, had the best performance ever in a film for like the 10 minutes he's in. Like, this is probably his best performance in any of his films. So, and it, I like the whole mystery aspect. And Walton Goggins he's the VIP of the whole movie. The way he plays that character is so good. So that's my number 7. Now we're getting close to the top 5. Number 6 is Kill Bill Volume 2. And I love Kill Bill Volume 2, but it's just, I don't think it's as good as the first one. But that ending where she ends up killing Bill, but, especially because how they build it up, she wants to kill Bill, but the moment she does, and the reveal that, the whole daughter reveal, well, they revealed in the first one, but you actually see her in that ending where she walks in and she's fucking ready to kill Bill, and Bill's playing with her daughter. It's just like, or their daughter. It's like, bro. And that last conversation before she kills him with that pressure hold, just, it's pretty good, man. And the way her reaction when she almost regrets it. It's one of those things like when you build up, you want to get revenge or you want to get something you want and then you get it, but it doesn't live up to what you expect. I think that movie portrayed that great. And that fight between her and Beatrix was fucking awesome in the RV. And Michael Madsen, who's in a couple of Tarantino films, did great. So, but all around, Kill Bill Volume 2 is a great movie. I just don't think it's as strong as the first, but it definitely is a solid ending and conclusion to that story. So that's my number 6. Now we're on my top 5 before I get to number 5. Number 5 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. In my opinion, one of Tarantino's best. Just the set pieces alone. That was the thing throughout the whole review I was gushing over. And that whole movie in general was he got that feel of 1969 perfectly. Down to the parties, Rick Dalton and Clint Booth's names. Like he got everything right. Like that movie makes you feel like you're in 1969, and just all around, I like how simple the characters are. Um, Margot Robbie did great as Sharon Tate, and I actually like that they didn't use a lot of her. Maybe there could have been a couple more moments of her, but I think they used her the right amount because this movie wasn't supposed to just be about Sharon Tate. It never was. And I think some people got that confused and they thought it was. And I'm sorry, I don't care how much it pisses off people. That scene with Bruce Lee is great because I look at it as all, and I said in the review, it's his Clint's perspective. It's not necessarily, and I don't think it necessarily makes Bruce Lee look bad. I still love Bruce Lee, so it doesn't like make me look at him any less. It's just Brad Pitt and DiCaprio personally. That scene where he's talking to the girl, and she tells him he's the best actor or the best performance she's ever seen, and his face, or the scene where he breaks down in the trailer. It's like, and then obviously that final act goes fucking crazy. That final act goes fucking crazy, man. So that's my number 5. Number 4 is Inglorious Bastards. And Inglorious Bastards is such a great movie. Like, um, wait, yeah, Inglorious Bastards is such a great movie. Like, the war, it's a perfect like tale of like World War II. Actually, I think I have double number 4s because honestly, it's double tied with. I'll mention, so this is gonna be 4A, and then there'll be a 4B. So 4A is, or 4B, I guess I'll call this, is Inglorious Bastards, which is perfect. Inglorious Bastards is such a good movie. Like the performance by Brad Pitt, even though he's not in the whole movie, like because some of the trailers they do make it seem like he's the main guy, but in this he's not. But I think he's great, and the World War II setting, the multiple character perspective, and the biggest VIP of the whole movie is fucking Christoph Waltz. His performance is fucking uh, as the Nazi leader was so fucking good. And then obviously that final act where Hitler dies is done well. It goes like from 0 to 100, and the fact that he doesn't die, he ends up just getting fucking branded basically, and yeah, it's crazy. But all around great movie. 4A is Reservoir Dogs, which is his first movie, or like his first big release. Reservoir Dogs is such a good movie. The dialogue, the cast, the fact that there's not a lot of set pieces, aside from like the scenes where you see like the past, it's largely in that warehouse, and then a couple, one scene outside the warehouse, but largely it's one set piece. There's no multiple set pieces, but really good performance. Steve Buscemi was great. That opening scene where they're all talking at the diner is fucking great. Just man, and that's movie's another one where it's not a lot of action. It really isn't. It's very much just a dialogue heavy film. So, but that is my number 4A, and then number 3 is Kill Bill Volume 1. Kill Bill Volume 1 is a perfect movie. Uma Thurman's performance as the bride is so good. I like how it kind of does start as a mystery, and just it opens simple. Like it kind of does start from the modern, like post, her and her thing that happened her attack at the wedding. And then that scene where she fights Vivica A. Fox in the beginning is great. Lucy Liu is a great final boss for that movie, because she's not the real final boss, but she works for that film. I love the moments where, where they give Lucy Liu's character's backstory. It becomes like a little bit like an anime almost. It's fucking really good. I love the set pieces. And the aspect I didn't mention about Kill Bill Volume 2 is you see her training, which is really good. But I like in this one they keep it a mystery, and then the way it ends after she, wants to get revenge and decides to kill Bill. This is where the reveal is, oh, she doesn't realize her daughter's alive. That reveal is done great. That's why Kill Bill Volume 1 is so fucking great. So it is definitely number 3. Just it has to be. And number 2 is before I get to that. Number 2 is Django Unchained. Django Unchained is so fucking good. Django Unchained is, in my opinion, one of my favorite. The reason I love it so much, and this is, like I mentioned in my review of this movie, that I didn't want to watch it initially because I thought, oh, it's just gonna be another slave movie, but it fucking was. Slavery is like, or that aspect of the movie is like almost 1% of it. Christoph Waltz gives another great performance as Schultz, and his relationship with Django, like they instantly hit it off. Tarantino does a really good job, like with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and all his other movies that have like a historical or a period set piece. He makes it feel like you're there. And that's why a lot of people get, like, there were people at the time who were like kind of like basically offended because they're on N-bombs, but it's like that was that time. People talked like that like you can't do that. I'd be like, yeah, you can't have a movie at that time period without those words, because that's just, people talked like that back then. Walton Goggins was so good as like he wasn't the main bad guy, but as like the secondary or minute, bad guy. Samuel Jackson as Steven was great. His dynamic with DiCaprio, in my opinion, is the VIP of the film. That table scene is peak cinema to me. And the fact that he cut his hand but kept fucking going is great. And the fact that, like, when I learned Samuel Jackson, I almost had to talk him, because he, I understand DiCaprio was super uncomfortable with his role because he had the amount of N-bombs basically, and it's like, I understand, but Samuel's like, bro, you're playing a character, you got to do it, and he pep talked him up to do it and gave him, and to have DiCaprio, in my opinion, probably my favorite DiCaprio performance in any film, honestly. Like, the more I think about it, it's just this scene, it is like the polar opposite of the character he normally plays. And the action is great. The score is solid, which in a lot of these movies, Tarantino knows how to do soundtracks perfectly. So I love Django. Django is great. Heavily recommend. One of Tarantino's best. That is why it's my number 2. The action. It's just an all-around great film of like his catalog. I find myself rewatching this one the most. Number 1 is, of course, Pulp Fiction. I mean, I think I already pretty much spoiled it in other videos. I think I may have spoiled it in the Pulp Fiction review that this is my favorite Tarantino film. The dialogue, in my opinion, is, I don't know if I would say but it's up there with like the most memorable dialogue in film ever. Like, just that whole apartment scene, say what again? Like that whole scene, the dynamic between Sam Jackson and John Travolta is great, and this movie kind of revived John Travolta's career. Vin Rhames as Marcellus Wallace is great, especially because it's like Vin Rhames usually plays like the good guy. He's in Dawn of the Dead. He was in Rosewood. He's usually like the good, jacked good guy. But he's actually, I wouldn't call him a bad guy per se, but yeah, he's like a drug dealer. Bruce Willis is in it. I love the out of order stuff, but it's done in a way where you still know what's happening. You're not like, what the fuck's going on? Uma Thurman was great, even though she's not in the movie a lot, but the scene she is in as Mia Wallace, she steals, in my opinion. Her and John and Travolta had great chemistry at that dinner scene, at the dinner scene they were supposed to have. Just an all-around great film. It's just a funny film. This is one I find myself rewatching the most of all Tarantino's films. And then the scene at the diner with Tim Roth is great. Tim Roth in Reservoir Dogs also was great. Tim Roth, who he's done a good couple because he was also in Hateful Eight. So like but this is his best performance. I mean, even in like that opening, that opening, I think it was a good, I would say, 7, 8 minutes of the movie is really good. So I really, all around, Pulp Fiction is his best movie. I just don't think you could top that. Yeah. But yeah, guys, that is my Tarantino ranking. I wonder what y'all's Tarantino ranking is, or what's your favorite Tarantino movie. But I want to thank people for getting my Mummy video that I did back in July is now hit 16K. So I want to thank people for that, and thank for my subscribers for subscribing to my channel. But I'm gonna cheers and peace out. I definitely wonder what Tarantino will do as like his final film. I think because he said his 10th film is gonna be his last one. So I wonder what he's gonna do because I really love his movies. He's one of the few directors, like I mentioned earlier, where I think all his movies are good. It just depends how they rank, but they're all good. I'm definitely interested to see what he does because Tarantino's, my opinion, top 5 directors for me. Like when you can have a catalog like his, but they're all good, but just in their own way, that's a rarity, especially for like some because even Spielberg had bad films, Lucas of course. So it's just yeah, but yeah, guys. Tomorrow will be uh I'll be reviewing Bill and Ted, Great Excellent Adventure, the first one, and potentially the Texas Chainsaw remake. But if I don't do it tomorrow, or the new Netflix one, if I don't do that tomorrow, the Texas movie I could push if I don't do that tomorrow. But definitely, I'll be doing Bill and Ted, so that'll definitely be happening. But other than that, I'm gonna cheers and peace out. But fuck Warner Brothers, fuck Disney, fuck LeBron, fuck Seth Rogen, fuck Kevin Smith, fuck Joy Reid, fuck the Biden administration. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.